Hey YouTube, my name is Wes Irick. This is my 2015 Corvette Stingray. Today we're going to go over what it takes to install a trailer hitch on one of these. The mechanical installation of the hitch itself and also the wiring to hook up to the trailer. So let's get started. So this is the hitch that I bought. All I was looking for was a trailer hitch that had a 90-degree front surface that I would be able to put directly to the frame of the car, and then this surface helped out for the chains and to bolt to the L bracket that I made. Okay, so we're gonna start here with the license plate. So I already installed the hitch part, and I'll kind of go through that process once we get the bumper off, and then we'll go through the wiring harness. So first things first, take off the license plate. Just 2 stainless steel screws here. And you can see I already have the trailer hitch installed. So what I did here is the factory bumper has a cutout similar to that, and I was able to cut it out a little wider to allow for the trailer hitch and enough room to get in to put the hitch pin. So these are the tools that are required to remove the lower portion of the bumper: 10mm deep socket, a 7mm deep socket, a couple of different style picks or prying tools, 3/8 drive extensions. I have a T15 Torx bit and a 1/4-inch wrench to turn that, and then a couple pieces of nylon wedges that I made to pry off the bodywork a little bit. The first thing you start with are the vents. So you'll remove the vents here and the vents here with the pry tools. Underneath, at the very bottom of the rear bumper, there are 7mm screws that also need to be removed. So these are the 7mm bolts that need to be removed. There's 3 on each corner, and then 1 here and 1 here. Remove those and the bottom of the bumper will start to move freely, and it'll allow you to remove the mud guard over here. Now that we've removed the 7mm bolts, we can remove the mud guards here. Real easy, they just snap out. Just give it some force, and this is the tab that's held on by those 7mm bolts, so you got to remove those first. Once that's off, it reveals a couple of the screws that hold in the wheel well. They actually mount to this back bumper piece, so it helps to help you get the bottom off, but then when you remove this piece, you need to remove these 2 screws. So the proper way to do it would be to have the wheel off and get in there with a proper socket. Because I'm doing this on the ground, I'm actually just using my Torx bit and my 1/4-inch wrench to get in here and do it by hand. So next we have to remove the reflectors. These are actually very difficult the first time you pull them out. After that they free up a little bit. But there's 3 clips that hold it in, 1 here, 1 in the middle, and then 1 on the end. If you get the first one out with a pry tool, you can very gently pry the other ones out. I'm going to use a screwdriver here, but I just very carefully wedge it in here and push towards the reflector and get it to pop out just a little bit. And then I can very carefully get in behind and start working the rest of the reflector out. Now that we have the reflectors off, it reveals all the bolts that we need to remove the lower part of the bumper. So the 2 10mm bolts here, the 2 that are behind the license plate. There's 2 underneath here by the exhaust, and then the other 2 on the left side reflector. Okay, so after you have all your hardware off, the only thing that's holding the bumper on now is the plastic snaps. So there's 1 on each bottom corner down here. These are actually very tight when you remove remove these for the first time. So that takes a bit of effort. And then the other spot there are clips all the way along the bottom here. That's where your nylon wedge tools come into play, where you can, with a little bit of painter's tape to protect the paint, wedge your nylon in there to start giving a gap where then you can see the snap and get in there with a screwdriver to just depress the tongue enough that it removes. So after you work off both corners, then you can go from here to here and just depress the tab on the inside here, and the whole thing will kind of start to back off. And then usually I just grab it here in the middle and I'll just slide the whole bumper off. So this is what I came up with for a design, but what I did is I essentially used the areas for mounting your chains as actually mounting it against the frame rails here. And then also I had an L bracket that I purchased and drilled holes in to then bolt to this and make sure that I had 4 bolts holding this to the frame. These are 5/8 inch bolts. I think they're 4 inches long, so that they go all the way through the frame. On the back I have backing plates and then washers so that it won't be able to pull through. And then I also repurposed the holes that were mounted on the trailer hitch for the chains. The crash structure here went all the way across the rear bumper, so I was able to remove that with 4 M10 bolts along the way. There's also a funny clip up here. If you're just doing this section, you can reach up here and you can push it away and you can remove this whole section without having to remove the top bumper. But once you pull that off, then you're able to cut out the center section, making sure to leave the tabs for the M10 screws, and then that opens up the area for your trailer hitch. The only other modification to it is allowing for some space for your hitch pin, so that when I come in here, I need just a little bit of an angle. I'm actually going to go in first this way, getting the tip through the plastic there, and then it slides nicely in. But you need just a little extra space to get the hitch pin in. So if you notch out this area or this area, that'll work out fine. Okay, so now that we have the lower bumper removed, we're going to start removing the top bumper. There is a hard cable going from the back of the trunk to the key lock, so that when you remove the whole bumper, it's still going to be attached. And so you're actually going to want to have like a cloth, or in this case I have a comforter that I'm going to set up here and then rest the bumper up on the top of the trunk, because I won't be able to physically remove it from the car. So you can see here, after you remove the trim piece, there were a bunch of Torx screws that you pull out through there. And then after you use your pick to gently work out the lights around, you can see all the way up there at a bit of an angle that there's another Torx bit up there. So then there's 3 clips on each side, one here, one here, and one here, that hold the bumper on after you get all the hardware off. So just very gently kind of grab the bumper here and at the bottom, and then just kind of do this nice pull and start working it off. Do the same on the other side and the whole bumper should lift off. At that point, lift it up gently, undo the wire harness here and this one as well, and then you should be able to lift it up on the trunk. So for the wiring harness, it was a Hopkins wiring kit for a 4-wire flat trailer hitch, or trailer wiring, and this was actually made for the Corvette 2014 and 2015, so it has the correct connectors to connect up to the OEM harness. The taillights on the Corvette are LED, and they will not have enough power to light the incandescent lights on the trailer. so you need a power connection, one. The other reason is because the trailer has a combined brake light and turn signal, where the Corvette has a red brake light and an amber turn signal. So you need a module to combine the two signals into one for the trailer.
What we have to do is we have to wire up to the battery, which is inside of the car. That's what this red wire is for here. This is going to go through the back wall of the car. And then this fuse and this little loop here is going to attach to the battery. I'm just joining these two wires together. This is how it came in the kit. And what I did is use a submarine joint. What I did is I stripped about this much insulation off of this wire, and I cut away all the strands but two. Then I held these two together and I wrapped those two very long strands around the other wire that I'm trying to join to and the original wire. This creates a very strong joint when it's soldered.
So what we did is we routed the fuse and power wire to one of the empty buses right over here. We had a 100 amp bus that wasn't being used, so with soldering a lug onto the end of the wire, was able to mount that there. We'll zip tie the fuse down, and then we ran the wire all the way out through this plug here, and we'll seal that up with some RTV and then put that back in the wall. It comes out this way, and then this is where we mounted, actually in here, this is where we mounted the module. There was a sheet metal bracket there that we just zip tied it to. The ground is the white wire. It comes off, and we ran to the strip here on the bumper. Then we have the connectors going out on this side, out to the left turn signal and brake, and the green wire on this side out to the right turn signal. Then the last thing we did is we added some strain relief to the wire here, so that with the zip ties here, that's not going anywhere. Alright, this is the test of the actual lights running. So turn on the turn signals there. I'll go in the back. Let's see what Brian's working on.
We have our LED test fixture, running light, and one of the blinkers. It's blinking because the hazards are on, and the other blinker.
And that jives with the lights running here. Okay, so we're going to go through the installation now. Take off the license plate. Okay, so there's the trailer hitch, and I have the cord here tied up there. So move that to the side. Take my hitch, put that in, slide in my pin. Okay, I'm going to move the trailer up. This one over here. This one over here. And then the wiring harness. So you got plenty of length on both of these. Actually, probably gonna put this underneath here, take up a little slack, and slide that together.
So we're gonna do a test of the lights now. Wes, hit the brakes. Okay? Left turn signal. Right turn signal. Okay? Flashers. That was a demonstration of the lights.